Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm taking you to the Mega Master League, where I'm going to be team building around one of my favorite Mega Evolutions of all time, to see if I can manage to get some wins with it. Now, today's team will be built around Mega SALAMENCE, a Pokemon that has some pretty ridiculous stats and a nice moveset as well. The moveset I'm going to be running today is Dragon Tail, Fly, and Outrage, and I'm pairing it up with a Zacian Crown form on the lead, and Palkia as the safe switch to lure out any potential problem Pokemon for the Salamence. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Mega SALAMENCE. We're off to a rough start in game number 1 though, leading Zacian into Ho-Oh. I save switch into Palkia. My opponent is going to bank energy on Ho-Oh and respond with their own Palkia. This is honestly a pretty solid spot to be in, as I'm up energy, so I'm guaranteed to get a shield advantage out of this mid game. If my opponent wants to double shield for switch, they will have the ability to do just that. I could obviously consider going for an Aqua Tail bait, but for me, it just felt too risky. So I full send the Spatial Rend, I'm able to get the shield, and now my opponent will be forced to fire off an Aqua Tail to pick up the KO. Aqua Tail is double resisted, but unfortunately it will be enough to pick up the knockout, but now we get to send in Zacian. I'm hoping that with Palkia out of the way, that in the 1-0 shield, I will be able to sweep with the Mega SALAMENCE. My opponent will go for yet another Aqua Tail, and now it's time. In comes SALAMENCE. In the back is going to be Mega Ampharos. That's a very cool pick. Now this at worst is going to be a Thunder Punch. My opponent is actually on Brutal Swing, so I will throw 2 and the Outrage. This second Volt Switch damage will not register since the Outrage will easily pick up the knockout. Back in comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh's about to have a pretty rough day, as now I get to go for Outrage number 2. That connects big damage onto Ho-Oh. And there's the combo play with the Behemoth Blade. That's going to be enough to pick up the knockout. All that's left in the back is the low health Palkia, and we take the game 1 win. Moving into game number 2, unfortunately the lead's not getting any easier, leading into Primal Kyogre. I throw 2, safe switch into Palkia, and my opponent responds with Florges. Now this is where the pacing on Palkia can just absolutely overwhelm. I'm already over 2 Aqua Tails, and even though my Dragon Breaths don't do a lot of damage in this matchup, the Aqua Tail spam is absolutely real. If Palkia is able to get a shield call right, like shielding a Moonblast or no shielding a Chilling Water, then Palkia definitely has the ability to flip this. Here, I miscount. I honestly thought my opponent didn't have enough for the Moonblast, but they do, so I end up going down 2 shields, which is definitely not ideal. I bank a ton of energy and then bring in the Zacian. Zacian is in a pretty okay spot because my opponent is going to need 3 Aqua Tails to pick up the knockout. I don't really ever want to close combat before my opponent throws the second Aqua Tail, because if I close combat, then I would be worried that that Aqua Tail would actually knock out. But now that they've thrown their energy, I'm very happy to go for the close combat. Close combat lands, I get that Metal Claw down, and now if they bring in Kyogre, I'm able to make the close combat. Really nice play there. My opponent waits the turn, gets the catch onto Florges, but I'm really far ahead with this Palkia. So now I'm going to go for an Aqua Tail bait, grab the shield, and then I should be in a pretty safe spot to make double Spatial Rend. Spatial Rend number 1 into Kyogre is going to be shielded. Kyogre is trying for the waterfall down, but they are just having a really tough time of it. Double resisted waterfalls. Spatial Rend is going to land, and now it all comes down to this. Does my opponent have Blizzard? I bring in the Salamence, try and go for the catch. I don't get the catch. The typical moveset is Thunder, so if they have Thunder, I'm fine. But if it's Blizzard, I will lose this game. Thankfully, it is not. It's just a Thunder. Salamence survives, and we take the win. My goodness, Zacian's getting absolutely killed on the lead, now leading into Shadow Ho-Oh. I throw a Metal Claw and safe switch. My opponent actually turn weighted. Did you notice that? They were expecting an immediate switch out. They didn't want to be behind by an Incinerate. When my opponents saw me throw the Metal Claw, they started to throw the Incinerate, and that's when I switched. So they didn't want to be behind by an Incinerate, but because of the play that I did, they end up being behind anyway. Here I'm going to shield the Iron Head and farm down, but I forgot Dragon Breath does less damage this season. I can't get that farm down. I'm used to playing the Master League of previous seasons where Dragon Breath had a lot more farm ability, and my inexperience with the new Dragon Breath cost me my final shield. In comes Mega Gyarados. I go for the Spatial Rend. I try for the Aqua Tail, but I get sniped down by Dragon Breath. And if there's any Pokemon in this format you do not want to be down 2 shields to that isn't named Groudon, it's going to be Mega Gyarados. Groudon is definitely the deadliest sweeper, but Gyarados is absolutely up there. I go for the Behemoth Blade because I don't want to lower my defense, because then I would get two-shot by Aqua Tail. So I end up Behemoth Blading, I get the shield, and now they're going to go for yet another Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to land, I get the close combat, and this will pressure their final shield more than likely. So I'm able to grab the shield, I stay in, I'm looking to try for a catch into the Salamence, and we do get that catch. So catching the Aqua Tail works out pretty nicely for me. In comes the Shadow Ho-Oh, and the Ho-Oh being Shadow is actually a lot worse because this Brave Bird, I can survive it, but it's going to hit for so much damage. I throw the Fly because I know I'm not going to be able to double up here either way, so I just want to preserve as much health as I possibly can, but I can't get the farm down. Mega Gyarados, too bulky, and you know what would have won me that game? Clicking the Aqua Tail instantly into the Gyarados instead of throwing Dragon Breaths with Palkia, because that's the amount of health they survived by. So a winnable game. Unfortunately, it was my fault that I lost it. Zacian still has not won a lead as we lead into Primal Kyogre. I save switch Palkia, that's answered with Zamazenta, and this is a matchup that if you played it last season, Zamazenta did pretty nicely in, but this season, Zamazenta just gets crushed, as Palkia can just completely overwhelm Zamazenta with this lightning fast Aqua Tail pacing. Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail, just repeatedly crashing into the Zamazenta. I will shield up as they go for the close combat. I'm going to fire off this Aqua Tail right before they get their next CC. If they want to force the final shield, they can. And they're going to do just that, but now I can just Dragon Breath down, and I've flipped switch, which is everything that I needed to do in this game. So Palkia leaves pretty low, but with a ton of energy. In comes Zacian, and this game just shows the absolute power of Palkia, as Palkia is going to get Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail. I'm almost at a third Aqua Tail here as well, so Aqua Tail number 2 lands, there's Aqua Tail number 3, and Palkia's pacing is just absolutely unreal. We get them so low, they send out Kyogre, and I'm going to be bringing out Salamence. Salamence will go for the Fly. Even if they no-shield this, it's still going to do a ton of damage, and now my opponent has built up enough for a Thunder. Thunder will hit for strong neutral damage, but I can survive, and now I will opt to go for the Fly. Throwing the Fly does allow my opponent an extra sneak, but either way, they should not be able to get a farm down. They actually make a really nice play, which is sniping with the Zacian, but unfortunately for them, I have a guaranteed win con by bringing in my Zacian. Here, I actually get denied, which is something that hasn't happened a lot, so it's unfortunate to see it still happens. Luckily, it won't impact the outcome of this game because their Kyogre is too low. Kyogre would have to be able to farm down to win this game, and they cannot. They can KO the Zacian, but Palkia snipes with Dragon Breath, and we're able to take the win. Zacian into Mega Gyarados, a pretty nice lead for the Zacian. We're definitely happy to catch this on the lead. This matchup is never as comfortable for Zacian as one might like, because Gyarados will always have the ability, if you debuff your defense, to two-shot with Aqua Tail. They're going to connect with an Aqua Tail. I decide to go for the Behemoth Blade bait, assuming they're always going to be shielding, because I really don't want to put myself into single Aqua Tail range. Now, I will get the close combat, but before I get there, my opponent will go for the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to land. I'm safe switching into Palkia, and my opponent is going to respond with Florges. Florges, as we've seen a few times, as long as Palkia is up energy, Palkia can absolutely make a play for alignment. I fire off the Aqua Tails back to back, and just like that, in a split second, Florges is now in red HP. Florges will go for the Moonblast before I'm able to get to my next Aqua Tail. Moonblast is going to be shielded. I'm going to look to farm up with the Palkia, and then I actually go for a CMP tie here, my Aqua Tail to their Moonblast. They do end up shielding, and now I have a decision to make. Do I want to burn the final shield here? I say no. Instead, I'm going to be bringing in the Salamence and looking for a farm down. In comes Salamence. They pivot into Gyarados, but I get the snipe. I get to fire off the close combat. That's going to connect. Down goes Gyarados. Let's go. What do they have in back? And that's one of the only things that Salamence could not beat. It's going to be Zacian. And I wish I had Fire Blast. If I have Fire Blast, I can win this game, but unfortunately, I do not. Behemoth Blade is going to land. That's big damage. And right here, if this is a Fire Blast, I just win this. But unfortunately, I do not have it. Fly cannot two-shot, and I will resign the match. We move to the next match, and unfortunately, Zacian has just been getting absolutely shredded on lead all day. Oh my goodness, leading into Solgaleo. Unfortunately, I'm ABA weak to Solgaleo because Salamence is also walled too. So I'll stay in, fire off the close combat, but they're going to end up protecting it. I hope that I caught an Iron Head, but they probably just went for the Psychic Fangs, and they did. So now my Palkia is debuffed. Out comes Gyarados, and Gyarados is going to be able to just fully farm down. Gyarados, because my defense has been debuffed, is just outputting so much damage. I'm going to try for an Aqua Tail. I get a last second Aqua Tail, but unfortunately this will not be enough to KO either. My opponent actually puts up a shield. Aqua Tail would not have knocked out there. I guess they were worried that they had miscounted. I'm going to be bringing in Zacian, absorbing the Aqua Tail, and I need Salamence to put in work. But unfortunately, they aggressively pivot out back into the Solgaleo, and I'm just going to get hit with a million Psychic Fangs. So I was able to get all shields down from my opponent, but I don't have a good way of damaging this Pokemon. They hit me with another Psychic Fangs, and oh my goodness, I'm just in so much trouble. I don't see a way that I can win this game. I have all the shields in the world, but I have no health. I'm extremely debuffed. Maybe if I can snipe them with the close combat, I have a chance to win this game. So I switch, but I don't get the close combat. The Fire Spin KOs. I will overfarm as much as I can. This fly will pick up the knockout. I see him P-tie, get as much energy as I possibly can. In the back is Palkia. I get to the Outrage. How low is that Gyarados? I know the Gyarados doesn't have a lot of HP remaining. Outrage picks up the one shot. In comes the Gyarados, and unfortunately, they were just still too healthy. Zacian into Mega Latios. We actually see a decent lead. Okay, this is pretty nice. So I'm not mad at seeing this here by any means. I know that I can survive 2 Aura Spheres. Not by much, but I will be able to hang on. And I'll look to try and grab shields, or at the very least pressure my opponent with the Behemoth Blade. Behemoth Blade is going to be shielded. Latios knows that would inflict way too much damage, and I am very okay with no shielding. And then, now that they've used some energy, let's send out Palkia. Palkia farming up, but will get outpaced. Latios' pacing is so good. Aura Sphere lands, that's big damage. They send out Zacian, but the unfortunate thing for them is this is not farm down range for the Zacian. So Zacian is actually not going to get a lot of value in this game, as Palkia will get to spam out these Aqua Tails, be exceedingly threatening, and the threat of a third Aqua Tail just knocking them out will force my opponent to throw energy. I'm always okay with letting this go. They go Behemoth Blade, so they're not debuffed, and I'm going to bring in my own Zacian. I get the close combat, obviously going to knock out here. My opponent's down a shield. They don't want to use their final shield here. It's Urshifu in the back, and Mega Salamence is looking to sweep. We go for the fly into Urshifu. They're going to shield it. We're up 2 shields. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We've got a Zacian mirror in the next match. My Zacian is best buddied, and it looks like my opponent's is as well. So it will come down to a coin flip as to who wins charge attack priority. Winning the first coin flip, we don't win it, but it's not as important as winning the second coin flip. So I will be forced to go down a shield, but now I'm going to fire off the second close combat on CMP as well. So I go for the second close combat, and I lose the coin flip twice in a row. That is devastating. I'm forced to burn this shield to get this energy off, but now I'm just down a shield because my opponent lets it go. They bring in Palkia, I bring in my own, but I'm behind by a turn because Switch takes a turn. I'm going to get one shot by Spatial Rend. Losing the back-to-back coin flips there was extremely unfortunate, and I definitely misplayed that. Once I lost the second coin flip, I should have just let it go. Hopping into the final match, and this is one of the better leads that we've seen, Zacian into Palkia, but if I've learned anything from these battles, it's that Palkia can make this matchup surprisingly annoying for the Zacian. They go for the Aqua Tail, they save switch into Primal Groudon. Here, arguably, I should have brought in the Palkia, but I end up bringing in the Salamence because I know at the very least Salamence is going to be a wall to their energy. Fly lands, that's some pretty nice damage. My opponent, it doesn't matter what they throw. Fire Punch or Precipice Blades, I should survive both. They go for the Fire Punch. They win charge attack priority, but this is only on a Fire Punch. Now, Fire Punch from Primal Groudon is incredibly threatening, but I am able to survive. So I get to go for the fly and win the switch. Back in comes Palkia. I send in, oh my goodness, I send in Zacian. They switch to Kyogre, and my internet just disconnects there for a little bit. So I just sit there getting farmed by the Kyogre. Thank goodness my internet reconnected, but what was that? And the moment my opponent shields the second close combat, their fate has been sealed, as now I just have a Palkia. I have a 2-shield advantage, and this game is over. Even though they're highly likely to bait with the Surf, I'm always going to be shielding because I know if I get to the double Spatial Rend, there's just no way for me to lose. At this point, this can't be a Blizzard, so I will let it go. It is a Thunder, and Thunder, not going to be a problem. I get to the back-to-back Spatial Rens, and despite the fact that my internet just died mid-battle there for a little bit and then reconnected, we're going to take this win as Spatial Ren knocks out that Palkia, and that's a good game. And now some final thoughts on Mega Salamence and the team as a whole. First off, I did like how Mega Salamence played. I wanted to run Mega Salamence because I knew the hype was going to be around Groudon and Kyogre because, to be honest, they're both insanely strong in this meta. So I wanted a Pokemon that if I saw either one, I felt like I would have positive matchups across the board. I noticed that a lot of the teams tended to be more with the primals in the back, so that's why I initially tried to build with the Mega Salamence in the back. The results were 7 wins and 8 losses across 3 sets at just around 2,500 elo. I felt like Mega Salamence definitely held its own in these battles. Being able to get to fly in only 4 Dragon Tails and outrage every 5 Dragon Tails, it was able to output a lot of damage in a hurry. I would say the biggest thing that made these sets go slightly negative would be there was quite a few Kyogre leads with fairies in the back, and that proved to be very difficult for this team to deal with. So I think overall, Mega Salamence, while it's not one of the main megas like the Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre that are obviously top usage in Mega Gyarados as well, I think it does have an interesting anti-meta niche. I think if I tried it again in the future, I would probably try building a different team construction, maybe around the Mega Salamence as a lead, because Kyogre with Fairy in the back proved to be something that this team couldn't really bounce back from, and that did prove to be detrimental as I ended up cutting out a few of those games because it was just the same Kyogre, Primarina, Zacian team again and again and again. So I felt like there were quite a few losses where the team was just very uncompetitive just due to getting fully RPS'd by that common squad. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.